Acosta ambushed Stephen Miller in press room, then suddenly all hell broke loose. President Trump announced his immigration reform today at the White House and referred to the merit-based, quote, policies that will help minorities and middle-class laborers in America. Watch the astounding video below. It's a great idea. These policies will start to reduce the income inequality of the United States. Of course, the Democrats are way against it. CNN's Jim Acosta ambushed Stephen Miller at the White House briefing, and Stephen Miller shot right back at the CNN hack. Democrats don't like to help the middle class. They just want voting blocks. This exchange needs to get out. The press has gotten absolutely rabid, and especially Jim Acosta. It's time for Jim Acosta to get this. This guy just wants to be famous and is not interested in asking questions. 1. Comment. Kick out Acosta below this article. 2. Share this to make CNN's Acosta famous in the wrong way. This is the same guy that Trump got to shut up in this famous moment.
Go ahead. Sure.
No, Mr. President-elect.
Go ahead.
President-elect, since you are attacking our news organization, can you give us a chance?
Your organization.
You are attacking our news organization. Can you give us a chance to ask a question, sir?
Go ahead.
Sir, can you
Quiet.
state,
Quiet.
Mr. President-elect,
Go ahead.
can you state
She's asking a
categorically,
question. Don't
Mr.
be
President-elect, can you give us a question?
Don't be
You're
rude.
attacking us. Can you give us a question?
Don't be
Can
rude.
you
No,
give
I'm
us
not
a
going to give you
question?
I'm not going to give you a question.
Can you state categorically?
You are fake news.
Sir,
Go ahead.
can you state categorically that nobody... No, Mr. President-elect, that's not
Go ahead.
appropriate.
Obama.
Let's start draining these media monsters now, patriots. Absolutely. Let's take a listen to him now.
On the second hand, so I will yes.
What you're proposing, or what the president's proposing here, does not sound like it's in keeping with American tradition when it comes to immigration. The Statue of Liberty says, give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses, yearning to breathe free. It doesn't say anything about speaking English or being able to be a computer programmer. Aren't you trying to change what it means to be an immigrant coming into this country? If you're telling them you have to speak English, can't people learn how to speak English when they get here?
Well, first of all, right now, it's a requirement that to be naturalized, you have to speak English. So the notion that speaking English wouldn't be a part of our immigration systems would be actually very ahistorical. Secondly, I don't want to get off into a whole thing about history here, but the Statue of Liberty is a symbol of liberty enlightening the world. It's a symbol of American liberty lighting the world. The poem that you're referring to that was added later is not actually part of the original Statue of Liberty, but more fundamentally, the history, but more fundamentally,
You're saying that
the
that
history,
does not represent
I'm saying that,
what the country has always thought of
I'm
as
saying the notion
immigration
that
coming into this
I'm saying
country?
the notion.
I'm sorry.
No,
that sounds
Jim, let me ask you a question.
That sounds like some national park revisionism.
No.
The Statue of Liberty
Jim,
has always
Jim,
been
let me ask you a question.
hope to the world
Jim,
for people to send
Jim, do you believe,
people to this country,
Jim,
and they're not always going to speak
Jim,
English, Stephen.
Jim,
They're not
do you
always
believe,
going to be highly skilled. They're not always going to be
Jim, I appreciate your speech. Jim, I appreciate your speech, so let's talk about this. Jim, let's talk about this. In 1970, when we let in 300,000 people a year, was that violating or not violating the Statue of Liberty law of the land? In the 1990s, when it was 500,000 a year, was it violating or not violating the Statue of Liberty law of the land?
Was it violating?
When it was 700,000 a year, no, tell me what years meet Jim Acosta's definition of the Statue of Liberty, law of the land. So you're saying 1 million a year is the Statue of Liberty number. 900,000 violates it, 800,000 violates it.
You're sort of bringing a
Jim.
press one for English philosophy here to
Jim.
immigration, and that's never
For
been
Jim.
what the United States has been about. Steve.
That but you're also, your statement's also shockingly ahistorical in another respect too, which is if you look at the history of immigration, it's actually ebbed and flowed. We've had periods of very large waves, followed by periods of less immigration and more immigration, and during the You've had
period of immigration right now. The
Yeah,
president wants to build a
it's
wall.
actually-
You want
it's
to
actually-
bring about a sweeping change to the
surely,
immigration
Jim, you don't actually think that a wall affects green card policy. You couldn't possibly believe that, do you? Actually, the notion that you actually think immigration is at a historic wall, the foreign-born population in the United States today, Jim,
talking about how border crossings.
do you really, I want to be serious, Jim, do you really at CNN not know the difference between green card policy and illegal immigration? Are you really don't know that?
He came to this country in 1962, right before the Cuban Missile Crisis, and obtained a green card. Yes, people who immigrated to this country can eventually. People who immigrate to this country not through Ellis Island,
as a factual question,
ways, do obtain a green card at some point. They do it through a lot of hard work, and yes, they may learn English as a second language later on in life.
So,
but this whole notion of, well, they could learn, they have to learn English before they get to the United States. Are we just going to bring in people from Great Britain and Australia?
Jim, it's actually, I honestly say, I am shocked at your statement that you think that only people from Great Britain and Australia would know English. It's actually, it reveals your cosmopolitan bias to a shocking degree that in your mind, no, this is an amazing moment. This is an amazing moment that you think only people from Great Britain or Australia would speak English is so insulting to millions of hard-working immigrants who do speak English from all over the world. Jim, have you honestly never met an immigrant from another country who speaks English outside of Great Britain and Australia? Is that your personal experience?
Of course, there are people who come.
But that's not what you said, and it shows your cosmopolitan bias. And I just want to say,
you're trying to engineer the racial and ethnic flow of people into this country.
Jim, that is one of the most outrageous, insulting, ignorant, and foolish things you've ever said. And for you, that's still a really the notion that you think that this is a racist bill is so wrong and so insulting. Jim, the reality is that the foreign-born population into our country has quadrupled since 1970. That's a fact. It's been mostly driven by green card policy. Now, this bill allows for immediate nuclear family members to come into the country, much as they would today, and then it adds an additional points-based system. The people who've been hurt the most, the people who've been hurt the most by the policy you're advocating are apparently just unfettered, uncontrolled migration. The people who've been hurt the most by the policy, the people that hurt the most by the policy that you're advocating are immigrant workers and minority workers and African American workers and Hispanic workers. And it has
African American community. Now you brought it up again. You said you wanted to have a conversation and not target. Is it going to be a target?
This is what we want to do.
The African American community, are you going to target? I'm not trying to be funny.
Right, I know what you're saying. What you're saying is 100% correct. We want to help unemployed African Americans in this country and unemployed workers of all backgrounds get jobs. And insinuations like Jim made, trying to ascribe nefarious motives to a compassionate immigration measure designed to help newcomers and current arrivals alike, is wrong. And this is a positive, optimistic proposal that says 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years from now, we want to have an immigration system that takes care of the people who are coming here and the people who are already living here by having standards, by having a real clear requirement that you be able to support yourself financially, by making sure that employers can pay a living wage. That's the right policy for our country, and it's the President's commitment to taking care of American workers. I apologize, Jim, if things got heated, but you did make some pretty rough insinuations. So, thank you, and I'll hand it over to Sarah. I think that went exactly as planned. I think that was what Sarah was hoping would happen. I think that was exactly what we were hoping to have happen. Thank you.
That's the question.
Well, a transition back should be pretty fun. Simple. Thank you.
Well, I think he was right. You know, the amount of people coming in, you have to, there've been tons and tons of unvetted people coming in to the country. You can't balance that out. You can't. This Acosta character is